Hi there, and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. Today is my first time scrapbooking since since before I did my December daily. So this is the first time in a while that I've done a 12 by 12 layout, and oh, it felt so good to get back into the swing of things. I had completely different plans. I was actually going to do a pink layout, and I was going to do some watercoloring on it. And then as I was flipping through the papers, I noticed that beautiful blue watercolor paper that is designed by Erit Landgraf. And I just fell in love with it so much, and I love the color purple, and I don't scrapbook with it nearly enough. And so I thought, here's a piece of purple paper. There's also this beautiful purple patterned paper that comes in the kit from the Good Vibes collection. That's that one with floral and birds all over it. And then I thought, why don't I make my own other patterned paper? Because I felt like I wanted another purple pattern, but there just wasn't another one in the kit that I liked. There was one more, it was like tiny little polka dots. I think I showed it for a second there. So what I've decided to do is take the stencil that comes with the color kit. All these supplies are from the Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the December kit. And it comes with this beautiful product called Paste Ease, and the color is called Puttin' on the Glitz, and it's a clear, it dries to clear. It looks white in the pot, but it does dry to clear. And I showed it on that tag there, that you can see that brown tag. It dries clear, which makes it kind of like a tone on tone, which on white is not going to be all that impressive. But you saw me just use some washi tape to hold it in place. I used a palette knife to spread it all through the stencil. And then as I picked it up, the stencil that is, it actually scraped off some of the pasties from one of the corners, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'm looking in my stash for some purple media that I could maybe spray and do like a resist pattern with that stencil. And so I couldn't find any in my regular mist collection, but I have these. They're called Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist, and they're a fairly old product. I'm pretty sure they still make them, but I haven't bought any in probably, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years. So the color that I'm using here, I don't know if they still have it, but it's called Rum Raisin. And Tattered Mist, or Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist, is, as you can see, it's a glimmery mist. It's oftentimes not quite as pigmented as this one is. And so most of the colors that I have are fairly translucent, but this one gave really beautiful coverage. As you can see, that's just a gorgeous pattern. I'm so pleased with it. And I was trying to get a close but not exact match to the color that is in that background paper. So I don't need all of this extra non-patterned parts all the way around it. And you can see that the messy part there where I just didn't do a good job of lifting up my stencil. But here's the piece of pattern paper that I'm going to end up with. So I am going to cut down this is my background paper. I'm going to cut it down 1/2 inch on 2 adjacent sides so that it is 11.5 by 11.5. Then this is going to be my mat for my layout. And this is a beautiful paper. It's from the Crate Paper Good Vibes collection. And again, this is a Hip Kit exclusive, this purple one that I'm outlining now. And I'm just using my Zig writer, and I'm using the bold end of that. And that's about, I think it's 0.7 is the tip. And it gives me a really nice bold outline. Now, my snail adhesive by Stampin' Up! Just ran out on me there. And I have a couple of refills left, but not too many. And I don't know exactly where they're at. So I just switched over to my ATG. So these are my patterns. I've got that striped one, and I particularly like the purple and pink stripe. I've got that one with some flowers and birds in it, and then I have the pattern paper that I made. This is my photo. It's basically just a photo of me, of my breakfast table, one of the days when I was eating breakfast before I was going off to work. And I got up a little bit early that day so that I could do some of a puzzle. I'm doing that as sort of like a mindfulness relaxation activity that I can use to start my day. And it's just kind of part of my new routine that either includes yoga or something that's either good for my body or good for my mind. And I find doing puzzles is kind of nice for my mind. Nice way to start the day. So I'm thinking about using some white here. So I pulled in this white scrap, and then that's also the overspray from my misted pattern paper. I have that there that I might use as an option. I'm just using my ruler to tear the edges of that patterned paper that I created. And now I'm just going to cut out a chunk of this pattern paper that was sort of where this all started. I mean, it all started with that purple background. And of course, purple, that ultraviolet purple is the Pantone color of the year. And I'm really excited to work with it. I'm hoping to kind of come back to this color a few times through the course of the year. And hopefully scrapbooking companies will help me do that by making lots of purple paper this year. So I'm just going to play around a little bit with the layers here until I can come up with something that I like. So this piece of pattern paper that's black and white there is actually the piece of a patterned paper bag that came in the December the December documented kit from Hip Kit Club. And I do have a couple of those leftovers on my desk too, so that's why I pulled that in. I feel like I just need something to anchor this bunch of layers. And so that's why I was thinking about using that black and white pattern, just to kind of pull it down below the photo and have it anchor everything. But then I kind of felt like I'd like to layer these papers and have them like 2 strips of the stripes and have them maybe offset. And then I realized that if I layer them like that, I'm actually not going to be able to have some of that pattern extend below the photo. So instead of layering it offset, I decided to layer it on set, so kind of like lined up as if I never did cut that paper. But I did, and that's okay. So now I'm just going to layer, now that I have those layers the way I want them, I'm just going to add them to my homemade DIY patterned paper. And you can see when I flip it over that I just did that on a piece of cardstock that I had printed some journaling on. And I didn't use the journaling, so I'm just using the back side to use up all my scraps. Now I'm just adding some Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive into some of the corners to just lift the corners for a little bit of extra dimension. And I have this sheet of chipboard from the Good Vibes collection from Crepe Paper. This, of course, came in one of the hip kits. And I would love to use this frame, but it's too small. So I'm going to cut it and use it as 2 corners, like basically photo corners. And then I decided to do a little switcheroo here. Instead of using pink, which would be just too much of the same, I thought that the yellow pom-pom frame would give quite a bit more contrast to the layers that I have going on there. Now, these are the die cuts. They're from the Good Vibes collection from Crepe Paper, and they came in the kit. And then there's also this beautiful set of die cut pieces from Vicky Bouton in the kit as well. And oh my goodness, the more I went through these, I was like, okay, forget those Crepe Paper ones. I really, really want to use these ones. So I just put them away. What I love about these ones is the kind of like the doodly look of them and the high contrast. Like they've got this really nice vibrant black in it, which is going to go well with my black and white photo, and the fact that I have matted it in black to give me some contrast. And I also have that black and white matte around the outside of the layout, and also the really heavy black outlining around the outside of the layout. So I know for sure I want to use this frame because, as I mentioned, I like the contrast that it gives. Of course, yellow is a nice complementary color to purple, which means it's across the color wheel from it. And that means that it is always a good choice for a contrasting color. So that's what I chose there. And I'm just, you know what? I'm just going to go to town with these beautiful die cuts and just layer them right up on this page. And I am not going to use any restraint. I'm just going to have as much fun with this as I can. The thing I want to talk about here in this process video is my use of that plain piece of white cardstock. And the reason I decided to use it was because I had a sense that I would be layering a whole lot of embellishments, and that little bit of white around the outside edge of kind of like towards the back of the layers, what it does is it provides some more contrast between some of those layered embellishments, so that instead of you just seeing, for example, like the lines of that kind of spriggy looking pink sprig of leaves or whatever that is, pods maybe. Instead of you seeing that right against the purple background, you're seeing it against the white, and it also gives me some contrast between that pattern paper that I created and the pattern paper on the background, and it just kind of gives a little bit of just tiny little bits of places where there's space for things to kind of breathe. So I love that doodly looking leaf that's black with white lines on it, and it shows up in a couple of different places in this die cut set. So it shows up as standalone leaf pieces, but it also shows up as leaves that go along with flowers in the die cut as well. I want something here, but I think that this normal, my kind of normal or something die cut is just a little bit too big for there, but I'm leaving it there just to hold the space. I want something purple there because there's already the yellow on the pom-poms and the yellow on the bird. There, that one will do it. So that is a die that comes from, it's like a die cut that comes from the crepe paper dies. I'm using mostly Vicky Bouton dies here, but that one I'm pulling in from the crepe paper die cuts. Squad goals is what I'm going to call this, and the squad being my family. And I have this 1, 2, 3 because there are 3 components to the healthy living that we're kind of trying to focus on this year, and that's what this layout is all about. So I have a lot going on right here, so I have to start gluing things down. So I started with the 365, and that's relevant to my story because it's kind of a lifestyle story, and gluing that beautiful leaf, that beautiful black and white branch of leaves, and then the bird on top, going to glue these 2 feathers to one another, and then tuck them behind. Going to add this moth, which is just so cute, and I love that it's yellow. And then I think that this sprig just adds the right amount of interest in the background of all of these layers. So there we go. And now my only question is, am I going to use that purple flower or not? Because it's already on a purple background, but I think I might like to use it anyways. So now I'm finally deciding where I'm going to place this. I'm placing this entire cluster well up on the layout, so quite high. I have a feeling that I'm going to put a fairly large cluster in the bottom corner where I put some dots instead of the outline. And so those dots are going to anchor my secondary cluster. It looked a little not straight to me, so I just checked with my ruler, and it's okay. It's fine. It's almost straight. I have to change my ATG. If you need some help changing your ATG, I have a video on my channel. I'll link it right here. I do really like using the ATG. I have switched recently to Stampin' Up! Adhesive just because I do like the Stampin' Up! Adhesive too. I find that it's just as forgiving and just as reliable as the ATG, but it's smaller, so it's easier for me to use it especially when I'm doing process videos. But my ATG will always be my kind of standard backup adhesive. So I will be ordering some new Stampin' Up! Adhesive very, very soon. So I think almost everything is stuck down now, or almost everything that I've decided on is stuck down. And I am going to go ahead and use that flower. I wasn't sure about it, but I decided that it added just the right amount of anchoring for that cluster of, I guess I'm going to call them pods, those pink things up in the corner. Now that I have my main cluster of embellishments created around my photo, I'm going to come down here and spend some time on my secondary cluster. I want this Do It With a Smile to be towards the bottom of this, and I wish that I could have these pom-poms on top of it. So what I'm going to do is cut a little slit in this die cut, and I just have a little bit of foam there that I keep in my scrap room for this exact kind of purpose. And I'm just going to flip it, kind of like slip it in there so that it looks like it's just a part of the die cut. Just a little bit of trim on the back corner of that banner, the far corner of that banner. And now I'm going to glue the whole die cut to this bottom corner. And again, those dots in my outlining serves as an anchor for this cluster. I didn't know what was going to go here, but I knew that I'd put a cluster in one of the corners, so I just left one of the corners with those dots instead of an outline. I used to do that all the time when I first started scrapbooking, and I rarely do it now, so I decided to kind of do that again. I'm just having a look at what else I might want to add to this bottom cluster. It feels like it needs something, and it needs something kind of significant. So I grabbed this bird. It's a chipboard bird, and it's not exactly the same style as the bird that is above, like the yellow bird that's above the photo, but it's similar enough, and it has the nice colors that are already present on the page, so I thought that that was pretty good. Because the bird is facing the wrong way, I typically like my little critters that I include on a layout to look inwards. This bird is looking off the page, so I felt like I needed to give it something to look at so that it looks like there's a reason it's looking in that direction. So I put that little sign that says "Go your own way" over to the side to make it look like the bird is looking at that. It just gives the bird a little bit more purpose for being in a different direction than usual. I'm going to add another bird right here. It does two things. It adds a little bit of interest over here and beefs up this section of embellishments, which is nowhere near as heavy as the embellishment on the opposite side of that photo. And it also covers up where the pom-pom trim ends. It was just a little messy looking, so the bird's body covers that. Now I do want to do a little bit of journaling, and my plan was to help the journaling cover up this mostly boring section under the word squad goals. There's just a couple of layers of paper showing there. My journaling says, "Our family is focusing on wellness this year. Physical, mental, and emotional." Then I just erased the pencil marks that I made. I basically just put a little bit of a template marking on there to show where the embellishments would cover up so that I didn't cover up my journaling. So I journaled around where the embellishments would go. Adding one more thing that's going to anchor this, and I'm putting that one over the white paper. At this point, I talked about how I use the white paper to provide me with a little bit of basically kind of like negative space to help some of my embellishments pop out and stay separate from the other layers. Well, now I'm working on kind of cutting back on some of that white space. There's too much of it. So I'm going to go through and cover it up strategically in a few different places. So here was one place where I just felt like I didn't need that. And it looks kind of boxy too, right? Like you can see the straight edge, and yeah, it just looks a little strange and plain. So I'm going to embellish my little heart out until I feel like most of that white is gone. And then I'll show you what I'll do with what's left. There's a branch that I like. What I like about this one compared to the other ones that I auditioned for this space is that it's got that high contrast of the black veins on the leaves. It's just more consistent with some of the other items that were already on the page. I did layer 2 pieces of chipboard right there to the immediate left of the word squad goals. And so I used some dimensional adhesive to hold up the one that was on top where it overhangs. Now here I'm writing physical, mental, and then for emotional, I chose to write it around the curve of the 3 because, you know, your emotions can be a bit of an emotional roller coaster. So I wanted the word emotional to be on that part of the 3. And I want these numbers to be down here, kind of like they're hanging out of the layers, like they've just slipped out. I really like how that looks. Now this corner in the bottom right-hand side, the corner of white paper that shows, is the one place that I'm not very happy about that white paper. I like how it gives some negative space behind the layers in the top left-hand corner, but here I really don't like it. So I'm just going to pull back the layers and cut it right out. And nobody even knows it was there, except there's a little bit showing there. So I pulled off the 3, cut it off, and put the 3 back. And I think that looks nicer. Like, see how you can still see the white paper showing through in those 2 little tiny spots. Well, one is big, and then by the leaf down by the 1, it's just a tiny bit of the white peeking through. And it's less obvious that there's a plain piece of white paper. Like, it doesn't look so much like a big gaping white hole in my page. It's more serving the purpose of providing a little bit of distinction between my layers there where there is heavy layering. And then in the places where there isn't so much heavy layering, I don't really need them, so I took it off or covered it up. These are some embellishments from Vicky Bouton that came in the kit, and I'm just using them. They're basically epoxy stickers that look a little bit like enamel dots. They're really cute. So I put them in 3 different places, and they allowed me to bring a little bit more yellow into the page as well. I really like the contrast between the yellow and the purple, and I really wanted it to look like yellow and purple were the main colors, even though there's plenty of pink on this page and a little bit of a few other colors. This is Skyscraper Mr. Huey's Mist that I'm just sprinkling on the layout. I'm sprinkling it in 3 different places, basically my 3 different clusters. And then I'm just taking a baby wipe to wipe it off of the cards of the chipboard, because the chipboard has a shiny finish on it and it just sits on top of it instead of soaking in, and it will almost probably never dry. So I'm just wiping it off. I thought about using these stars because I forgot about them until now, and then I thought, oh, I could have used these, but then I decided not to. So here is the close-up. Oops, there's a little piece of thread there. There you go. I took it off. Now you get to see these layers. And that little piece of zigzag paper that's gray that's right behind the photo and the mat of the photo is a leftover piece from the Christmas, I guess that would have been the November scrapbooking kit that had a Christmas holiday theme. This page was so much fun to make. I can't even, maybe it's because I just haven't done a 12 by 12 in a long time, or maybe it was just like having fun, showing no restraint and just layering on all of the embellishments without really thinking about whether it looks nice or whether it's over the top or too much. Just doing it until I was finished doing it, I think was really fun and freeing. It was a lot of fun, actually. I feel like I want to do another layout, but I don't have time now. So yeah. Oh, I wish I could just scrapbook forever. Oh, my family wouldn't like me very much if I did that, though. So I'm just adding a few lines of stitching here. I felt like the 1, 2, and 3 looked a little bit like it was randomly hanging out, and so adding staples or stitching is my little trick for making things seem like they belong if they look a little strange. And so I like it when it's stitched on. It also gives me one more little element of texture that I can add to my page. So here are the photos of this page. I really love how it turned out. I think that it's a fun page. The title of it is just Squad Goals. So it's just I took that chipboard piece and made it be the title. And that little bird up there with his head turned is so adorable. I love those Vicky Bouton die cuts. They're one of my favorite sets of die cuts in a long, long time. I love the contrast on them. I love how she used black in that collection. It's just so nice. So let me know what you think about the Pantone color of the year, which is ultraviolet purple, I think is the name of it, or some type of a purple. Let me know if you're a purple person. Leave me a comment below. If you're not a purple person, leave a comment below as well. I know some of you are because you've told me so. Give me any hints on any other paper companies that are creating purple collections, because I'd love to get more purple paper. Thanks so much to the following Diamond Tiaras who support me over on Patreon. It's the support of people like these lovely ladies who make these videos possible. And a really big giant thank you to you for watching this video. I really appreciate your support. And let me know if you have any thoughts on this page or any video requests. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button in the center of your screen and check out these other videos for more layouts from me. And take care and have a really great scrappy week.